Alright guys, welcome back. GM Light here, and today we're going to be talking about The Exorcist Believer. I'm a little late to the party. I saw it a little later than everybody else, kind of after I saw the bad word of mouth, all the negativity online. I did not expect a whole lot going into this movie. I figured that it would be every bit as bad as everybody said it was. I pretty much went in knowing everybody's criticisms, knowing what everybody thought of the movie, kind of the discourse surrounding it. There was circulating on Twitter some of the really stupid lines that come out of this movie. I'm looking at you, patriarchy line. But I still definitely had an interest. It's just one of those things where at the very least I wanted to check it out, experience it, have my own thoughts on it. And what I gotta say is I actually did have a good time with this movie on a very surface level basis. What I mean is when you don't think about the story, when you're just watching it, you're not thinking about it, you're not thinking about the fact that it's connected to the original, you're not thinking about the implications of this movie being an actual sequel and what that means, how it ties into lore, Christian mythology, all of that. If you don't think about any of those things, it is a fine enough, very entertaining exorcism movie, probably a cut above most of the other ones that they make nowadays. That said, it just has so many problems where afterwards I walked out being like, yeah, it's not great, but I don't think that it's as bad as everybody says. And I really don't think it's as bad as everybody says, but those flaws are just incredibly valid and true though. This movie has so many different issues, but I guess I'll just get with what I think worked first. I actually find the first act of this movie to be pretty good, pretty compelling, and at least entertaining and interesting, especially when the girls go missing. I found that stuff to be some of the more compelling stuff in the movie. The performance by the main guy, I don't remember his name, but he was very good. The main father that we really followed throughout this movie. It sets up the stakes in a way that are interesting. I think that it could have biblically been interesting and tied back to the roots of this movie, where this stuff comes from and kind of that lore. But I guess just seeping through, I cannot help but feel like this movie is almost embarrassed to be an Exorcist movie. It just seems like so at odds with itself. It seems so at odds with that original. Like it doesn't want to be a movie about Christian lore. It doesn't want to be a movie about demons. It doesn't want to tackle any of the actual themes from that original movie. It even goes down to how Reagan's mother treats the sacrifice of the priest who died to save her daughter in the first movie. I'm not going to be saying anything new with that, but they died saving her daughter. That's ridiculous that they're saying she wasn't let in because of the patriarchy. Not only does that make her just sound ungrateful and stupid, it doesn't feel like an actual line somebody would say. It feels like just a politically correct Hollywood writer inserting some weird point into the movie for no reason. And that's how some of this goes. It's a lot of odd decisions that I feel like were made out of political correctness. They were afraid to actually make the Catholic Church the good guys in this movie. And it's kind of tough because I don't think I'd mind in any other movie or any other situation that they lend credence to other religions and methods, but the fact that we're dealing specifically in established lore, ideology, the world that this world supposedly operates on, it just doesn't make any sense that they would be so completely embarrassed to make this movie and have it actually tie into that original. It just seems like they're completely ashamed for it to be an Exorcist movie. I'm not surprised. It's modern Hollywood, so they're gonna kind of be dismissive towards anything slightly religious dealing with Christianity or Catholicism. That stuff doesn't surprise me too much, but it's still just like, really? Like, this is what you're gonna do? It's not that I'm offended by it, because I'm really not, but I just think that it makes the movie completely fall apart, and it makes it so easy to nitpick. Just all these dumb decisions. And it's really what the main thing of it is most of the big problems coming from this movie are the things where it feels like AI generated Hollywood. They have the weird political correctness, the weird nostalgia bait with characters coming back after years, them very clearly not giving a shit, them having the characters kind of just be a washed up version of who they used to be. I know they try to put a little bit more respect on the McNeil mother's name by having her be like a world-renowned exorcist expert now, but of course they had to have her be kind of a deadbeat mom. It's all played out before. We've seen it all before, and I think that easily the weakest portion of this movie was when they were nostalgia baiting us with bringing her back. She clearly didn't care, did it for the paycheck. They wanted to get her out of the movie as quickly as possible, or she wanted to be out of the movie as quickly as possible. One of the two are equally possible and valid because she does not want to be there. Just the cameos, the returning characters, when it's done poorly, it can make me as an audience member feel kind of stupid, or like I'm being taken as stupid to the filmmaker. And I like a lot of David Gordon Green's stuff. I think that he does a good job with horror movies. I think that this property just wasn't one that his skills were particularly applicable to. He did a great job with those 3 Halloween movies, and I think that this is a very competently made movie. I don't think he's really an Exorcist fan. As someone who's not a fan of The Exorcist, I think that he did the best job that he probably could have possibly done, without passion, that is. And that's kind of a really backhanded compliment, but really, I mean, I don't know what to say. This movie just has a lot of problems, but it is very entertaining. I will say there's some good sequences. The effects with the possession, that stuff's really good. The voices and everything surrounding that stuff, it can be very entertaining, interesting to watch. I was never really bored during this movie. I had a nice night out at the movies. Nothing like that to complain about. I overall had a good experience. It's just one of those things where the more I think about it, the more I kind of marinate on my thoughts, the more the movie falls apart, the less I like it, and the more I'm just kind of left thinking like, I don't know why they made some of these decisions. And the thing is too, I really see some greatness in this movie. There's something heart-wrenching about the idea of parents having to choose between these kids, and it could have been so brutal if the focus was more evenly handed between the families. I'm gonna get into spoilers, so leave if you don't want them. I think that it was incredibly obvious when this ultimatum came about one of the girls has to die. It was pretty obvious with the way that they unevenly focused these families that it was going to be Catherine. She wasn't going to be the one to make it. Her family, they're portrayed as kind of douchey, not likable, just a classic annoying Christian family. She has a lot of siblings. The fact that Angela and Angela's dad were the main focus of almost this entire movie. The fact that Angela's dad is a single father. The fact that Angela didn't have any siblings. Some of that stuff can be kind of earmarked with giving that stuff away, but it really is mainly the focus. If they made it even-handedly, made you care about both these families at least more equally, and made it kind of a genuine mystery about which one would die, and they made it so that it was unpredictable, and it would be equally painful no matter which one of them died, and equally as distressing to the audience, this could have been something really special, and I really see the potential, but whatever. I settled for kind of just entertaining horror stuff, a little bit more generic, scary movie, and I enjoy those. I can sit down and enjoy it just fine. I enjoyed this movie just fine, but it's again those problems, that potential that I could see. And you know what? I really don't know what they're gonna do. They have $400 million invested in this franchise. I don't know who came up with the valuation on that. When you have that just makes it so complicated and hard to make it profitable to make a movie like this. Especially too, this franchise really hasn't been that relevant since the first movie. So it was a big gamble. I don't know if it's gonna pay off. They're definitely gonna have to make sequels to make that remotely possible. I think that this movie will be profitable. Okay, scary movies always are. They're made cheap and then they're turned around for a profit pretty easily. So I guess in that department it should be fine, but I think that they're probably gonna take an entirely different direction with this sequel. And honestly, I don't know if after the reception of this movie, David Gordon Green's gonna want to stay on, and I don't know if they're gonna want to keep him on. As much as I love Halloween Kills and I like a lot of different things about Halloween Ends, for the general audience, this is basically his third miss. And yeah, his movies are profitable, but if they keep getting received negatively, I'm sure that if you look at the box office, and it's tough because COVID kind of affects things and day and date release happened with Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, I can imagine that there's probably a downward trajectory from Halloween 2018 to Exorcist Believer with David Gordon Green's films. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear. I'm GM Light. Have a good one.